Hello, MMA fans, and welcome to part 7 of the 2023 MMA Prospect Series featuring the Featherweights. And I guess at this point you could call it 2024, but it's been almost basically an 18-month run. Again, sorry for the delay, but work was just insane the last 3 months. I just finished a 90-day project. It's all wrapped up now. I'm still busy with work, but I had time to kind of put this together. If you're new to my videos, again, this video is featuring prospects that I want to talk about. There's no ranking. There definitely will be some prospects left off the list. However, this one's, very big. Sometimes you don't include folks over the age of 30 if they've been inactive for a year or two, or if they've been talked about in the past in other videos. In the future, once this series is done, so we got after this video today, the featherweights, we have the lightweights left and the women's. So 2 more videos after today, which are going to take a long time, of course. But after that, we're going to get away from the big videos. It gives us a chance to go back to the way we used to do it. So we may do, monthly videos featuring 5 to 10 fighters. That way we can go in much more detail per fighter, show some highlights, and it gives me, more time to do it with work. And also I'm looking at some other content. So a disclaimer, some of the fighters in this video may have been picked up since I put the video together. I put it together a few months ago. I just finished up the final touches today, but because of work, again, I couldn't put it out due to a time thing. And then again, the last thing I'll ask is please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share. Just lets me know that you want me to continue this, and it also helps out my page, or the YouTube channel, and the fighters as well, giving them more exposure. And feel free to follow me on Instagram or Facebook. So without further ado, let's get into it. The rules for the series, if you're not familiar with my channel, the fighters mentioned today: no UFC experience, including Tougher Contender Series, no ONE FC, no Bellator, no PFL, and no Rizin. The stats. We're going to talk about an unprecedented 123 fighters today. We're going to have to move very quickly. The first 15 or 20 will go into somewhat detail, but after that, we're going to really breeze through, just due to a time thing. It's just so many fighters. But I want everybody here, I want to include. The average age of the fighters, 25 years. Pretty young group. A number of countries represented, 42 countries. A combined record of 1,105 wins, 100 losses, and a 72% finish rate. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first beast we're going to talk about is Islam Omarov. 26 years old, 5'8", 145 pounds out of Russia. 15 wins, no losses, 3 knockouts, 7 submissions, a 67% finish rate. The ACA featherweight champ. Islam is an absolute beast. Most definitely UFC ready. He's faced tremendous opposition in the very tough ACA promotion and has always came out on top. Big time wrestling, overwhelming opponents, smothering them to set up submissions or ground and pound, exhausting them. If someone wants to really test him, you would have to think they would have to keep the fight standing. And I haven't seen a ton of his stand-up, so I can't speak a whole lot on it, but perhaps that could be an area of growth. But again, I haven't seen much of it. I hope he gets picked up soon. I mean, he's in a great, promotion. ACA puts on tremendous fights, but the rest of the world, it seems like only the hardcore fans outside of Russia seem to watch it. So it'd be great to see him get picked up by, the PFL is now picking up some tremendous Russians, or the UFC. Next on the list, Lucen Getta, 26 years old, 5'9", fights at both 145 and 155. Guinea/Belgium, 12-1. His only loss being an injury loss. Actually now recent win, 13-1. 8 knockouts, 67% finish rate. Octagon featherweight/lightweight champ and former WLF welterweight champ. So he's won belts in 3 divisions, which is remarkable. Action-packed, high octane, fan-pleasing fighter. Big power with some heavy KOs on YouTube. Check it out. He's beat some great opposition this far in his career, with his only loss again being mentioned earlier as an injury. I heard a rumor he was offered a UFC contract at one point, so he's still obviously on the radar of some of the big promotions. Would be interested to see how he matches up against a high-level wrestler or also against a tactical striker, because he does seem a little wild, but again, he's a beast. So exciting prospect. Looking forward to seeing more of this guy. Hopefully we see him sign with a big promotion. The next guy I'm going to talk about, and I talked about this guy 3 years ago in the 2020 series, or 4 years ago now, I guess. Bibert Tumanov. Again, his brother was a beast. His brother fought in the UFC, and he still fights in ACA. His brother's the welterweight champ. But Bibert's 26, 5'8", 145 again out of Russia. 13 wins, 2 losses, 9 knockouts for a 69% finish rate. Again, we talked about in 2020. Brother of UFC veteran, an ACA champ, Albert Tumanov, was a beast in his own right. Known for his crisp boxing and big power. A very dangerous striker, wins over the very tough competition with the likes of PFL multiple-time champion Lance Palmer with a first-round knockout. He's also beat very many undefeated prospects and some tough veterans. Like his brother, Bibert is tough out for anyone, regardless of promotion. I haven't seen a ton of his grappling, as he likes to keep the fight standing, and he has great takedown defense. Bibert is ready for any promotion. He can compete with anybody. Don't care what promotion it is, but in the 145 division, he'd be an exciting matchup for anyone. Next on the list, Ramiro Jimenez. 25, 5'8", 145 out of Mexico. 10 wins, no losses, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions, 80% finish rate. Combate Global featherweight champ. Another high action, tough fight finishing prospect at 145. Romero is very well rounded. High paced fighter that finishes fights by both TKO and submission. He's a beast with some very good wins over some very good opposition, and his 8 first round finishes. Some great KO highlights on YouTube, including a flying knee KO. A southpaw fighter that pushes forward, very well rounded. Recent winner of the Combate Global Grand Prix, winning 3 fights in 2 nights. With a 10-0 record, 80% finish rate, the 145 Combate Global champ, you would think at some point here he would get picked up by a big promotion. Great fit, and you know what? Fans love Mexican fighters, so he'd be a great pickup. Perhaps for the UFC at their Sphere event in September. Next up, Saladin Perez, 26, 5'8", 145 out of France, 19-2, 4 knockouts, 7 submissions, 58% finish rate, KSW, 145 and 155 pound champ. I believe he also challenged for the 170 belt. Talked about him, I believe, in 2020. Another incredible fighter, surprisingly, is not in UFC yet. Do not let the 58% finish rate fool you. This guy is dangerous everywhere. Southpaw, agile, athletic fighter with heavy ground and pound, solid sub game, and has shown in his most recent win he's got KO power with his head kick KO. He's beat some very tough opponents on his path to outstanding record. With his last win was a big jump up in weight. Yes, the challenge for the KSW welterweight championship against Adrian Bertosky, an alumni of the channel, who in the welterweight division, who's a beast in his own right. Not sure, if he's under a long-term deal with KSW, but definitely someone. He'd be a good fit in UFC or the PFL, as they're trying to build kind of a homestead in France now with Cedric Doumbé and Francis Ngannou, so he'd be a good fit with them as well. Next up, Megamed Yia, 30 years old, 5'7", 145/55 out of Russia, 10-0, 5 submissions, 50% finish rate, open fight champion, 9-0 as an amateur. Megamed uses smothering wrestling to overwhelm and wear down opponents, setting them up for a submission opportunity. Haven't seen much of his stand-up game, but he looks like he's comfortable on his feet. Also, more of a central wrestler, whether it's ground and pound. He's got a heavy top game. So far, his style has worked. As he's combined a professional and amateur record of 19-0. We'd like to see him match up against another strong wrestler. Moving right along, the next person, Megamed Yia, 24, 5'7", 145/155 out of Austria. I know he lost his recent fight, but at the time of video, he was 14-1-1 with 7 knockouts, 2 submissions, 64% finish rate. We talked about Makhachev back in 2020 series, and he's dabbled in multiple divisions with a dominant KO win over UFC veteran Malcolm Akami. Makhachev well-rounded and has power, KO power, and he's also got the ability to submit you. Wrestling defense will be a factor for sure when he hangs around, if he hangs around the lightweight division. Excited to see more of him soon and want to give him a quick shout out. Next up, a great prospect in England, Luke Riley, 24-5'9", 145, 9-6 knockouts, 6-70% finish rate. Luke is a great prospect with all pro fights taking place under the Cage Warriors banner. He also has him at 4-0 as an amateur. An aggressive fighter, Luke has beat some good opposition, including a war against previously undefeated prospect Alexander Loaf. He's a stand-up fighter with quick hands and good boxing. No sub-wins to date. Looks like he has good takedown defense. The question will be whether against a high-level competition, his wrestling and submission game will hold up. Exciting prospect. Looking forward to seeing more. Next up, going back to Russia for another beast, Andrei Goncharov, 27-5'7", 145, 17-4-0-1, 10 knockouts, 1 submission, 65% finish rate. Another monster to the ACA promotion. Goncharov is a very dangerous featherweight with powerful kicks and definite KO power. He's got wins over some very top opposition, is very well rounded, likes to keep the fight standing, but also, like many Russians, can wrestle. There's a lot of footage of this guy on YouTube, and he would make a great fit in any promotion's featherweight division. Number 10, and again, folks, I'm going to try to speed things up here once we get to through the next 10 or so. Igo Kabay, 31-5'6", 145, South Africa, 18-2, 6 knockouts, 6 submissions, 65% finish rate. The EFC, 145, 155-pound champ, multiple national wrestling championships as well. You know, at 31, he's a little bit older than what we usually do on the channel, but I wanted to give him a shout out. We talked about him in the past. Kabay is he's got a great record. He's very athletic, can win fights in any fashion, moves well on his feet, and of course, wrestling and the submission game are his bread and butter. He spent his whole career under the EFC banner, I believe, and it will be great to see him get a shot. You know, at this point in his career, he's in his prime right now. Let's see him get a shot against some of the top fighters in the world and one of the bigger promotions. Next up, one of the hottest prospects out there today, Paul Hughes, 26-5'9", 145, 155. He did get picked up by the PFL. This is one of the caveats of the video, which typically we don't include, but in order to take him out, I'd have to, go back and change the whole video. So we're going to talk about how he was before he got signed. 26-5'9", 145, 55 out of Ireland. 11-1, 5 knockouts, 3 submissions, 73% finish rate. Former Cage Warriors champion and Cage Conflict champion. Highly touted, up-and-coming prospect. Huge as well-rounded, exciting prospect to watch with KO power in both hands and kicks a lot, and also a lot of kick KOs highlights on YouTube. Very comfortable on his feet, good striking, has also shown fight finishing submission game with 3 submission victories. Very, very high potential. Let's see how he does as he moves up in the competition and sounds like in the PFL. Gabriel Aiza, 29-5'7", 145 out of Russia, 9-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, 56% finish rate. Goretz FC featherweight champion. Inactive since 2022, but I wanted to include him on the list because of his great record. Another dominant wrestler with overwhelming ground control, ground and pound, and submission threat. Last couple wins over decent opposition. Hope to see him soon back in action. Moving right along, Megamed Yia, 27-5'9", 145/155 out of Russia, 10-0, 5 knockouts, 1 submission, 60% finish rate. Another well-rounded fighter from Russia. Akiev has fight finishing power, throws an array of head kicks, spinning back kicks, and is very, comfortable on his feet. Haven't seen much of his wrestling / ground game. Check out some KO highlights on YouTube's. And I believe he was involved in a post-fight brawl. I'm not sure the full details behind it, but check it out there on YouTube. Next up, Lan Sardina, 27-5'9", again 145/155, 8-0 out of Brazil, 1-0 contest, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 50% finish rate. Another decent looker prospect. Luis has some nice wins over in his career, beating 14-0 Fabio Henrique and 6-0 Carl Hernandez. Can win fights via submission, TKO. Still room for growth on his feet and striking, but a great prospect and a great start to his career. Next up, number 15, Murtasi Magomedov, a beast, 26, 25, 5'11", 145, out of Kyrgyzstan, 8-0, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, 100% finish rate, WF, 145-pound champ. The list of beasts out of Kyrgyzstan continues to grow. Man, they're starting to come out with some great fighters as well. Seems to be slick on his feet. with definite fight-ending KO power. Good striking in both hands, and looks to have a good takedown defense, ground and pound, and a formidable sub-threat as well. Hoping to see more of this guy. Looks strong. Next on the list, Edward Barudian out of Russia, 21-5-8, 145, 6 knockouts. 9-0 record, 6 knockouts, 1 submission for a 75% finish rate. 78% finish rate. Young and dangerous. And coming, another Russian prospect with a great record and finish rate to start his career. Primarily fights under the ACA banner. Edward will continue to fight tougher opponents as he progresses. Comfortable on his feet, again with that fight-ending KO power, and also seems to have good wrestling. A definite high-potential prospect. Next up, going to South Korea. Tae Hwan Kim, 30 years old, at that threshold, 5'11", again, 145, 155 at South Korea, 10-1, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 70% finish rate. Another beast from South Korea. He's a fight finishing monster, and he's in his prime at age 30. He's a threat on his feet, and on the ground, he's exciting to watch and can submit you. Fun to watch. Check out his highlights. Number 18, Artan Rono. Out of Belarus, 25-5, 10-1, 45, 8-0 record, 5 submissions, an IMMAF bronze medalist. A quick shout out to Arkham, now in the ACA, he's a legit submission threat, and now we'll start seeing him a whole lot more that he's fighting in that promotion. So just a quick shout out. Number 19, this guy is a beast. Nabii AAV, 25-5, 7-1, 145, Netherlands/Morocco, 4-0 with 4 knockouts, 100% finish rate, but his kickboxing record, 29-0 with 19 knockouts. 2-time WMTA Muay Thai World Champion, World Grand Prix Mohammed Champ, FS European Champ, and the My Dutch Champ. A ferocious striker with KO power in hands and feet. Nowadays, so many kickboxers are having success in MMA, and with him making the transition, he also has the it factor. Takedown defense, grappling, and of course, overall wrestling will be an area will be key that he has to succeed in. Proven and get experience in, but just a beast. Check out his highlights, one to watch out for sure. Number 20. Hopefully we're going to start moving along quick here. At some point we're just going to go super quick, but Dasmal Shlikani off out of Russia, 26-5-8, 135, 145. 14-2, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, 71% finish rate. Another dominant Russian prospect who's been on a tear in the ACA. He's won some wins over great opponents and is very well rounded. KO power, comfortable on his feet, submission threat, and of course wrestling. Hope to see more of this guy soon. Next up, Bazir Saliev, 24-5-8, 145/155 out of Russia, 8-1, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. Another good Russian prospect with only 1 loss against the aforementioned Zelim Kananov. Bazir also competes in the ACA and he's beat some good competition. Overall, well-rounded prospect, and I wanted to give him a shout out. Next up, Nabii AAV, 29-5-8 out of Russia, 11-1, 6 knockouts, 2 submissions, 73% finish rate. Amateur experience, including 4 wins in one night in the Russian Cup 2015. Dangerous fighter in his prime, big KO, TKO threat, can submit you, and overall looks like a good prospect. Another person I want to give a shout out that's past the age of 30, 31. Omar Ortega, 5-1, 145 out of Ukraine, 12-2, 8 knockouts, 2 submissions, 83% finish rate. At 31, he's over the typical age, but I want to give him a shout out. He's been on a tear of a late, winning 11 straight fights, beating some very tough opponents, and very high finish rate percent. A perfect fit time right now for someone to pick him up. Next up, Omar Ortega. 26-5-10, 135, 145 out of Peru. Peru is starting to pump out some good fighters too. 11-1, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 73% finish rate. The Samurai Fight House champ. Ultra aggressive fight finishing prospect. Definite threat. Has beat some decent opponents. He's fairly active and definitely want to see more of him. Definitely worth a shout out. Next up, 25. Hamid Ameri, 20 years old, just 20, 5'8", 145 out of Afghanistan. 9 wins, no losses, 2 knockouts, 5 submissions, 78% finish rate. Looks like he's also 5-0 as an amateur, although Tapology and Share that look a little different. Hamid has got lots of potential. high submission rate, and he stopped opponents with ground and pound as well. At such a young age, it's hard for this guy not to catch your eye with that 9-0 professional record. So hopefully we'll get to see more of him soon. Next up, Said Kadyaev, 27-5-8, 145 out of Russia, 13-3, 9 knockouts, 1 submission, 77% finish rate. Another quick shout out to another dangerous fighter from Russia. He beat some quality opponents with some good wrestling, heavy ground and pound, and submission threat. 13-3, not the sexiest record, but definitely he's a beast. Check this guy out. Next up, Jose Perez, 29-5-10, 145, 8-1, 4 knockouts. 4 submissions for 50% finish rate. Jose hasn't fought in September of 23, but wanted to give him a shout out. He's a really good prospect. He's entering his prime now. I thought I heard a rumor he's picked up by the PFL or the Contender Series, but I don't know if that's true. He's had some nice wins, including over a fellow prospect, 7-1, Paulo Capaldo. And we talked about Paulo Capaldo years and years back, 4 or 5 years back, so that was a nice win. Perez is a submission threat and continues to improve his all-around game. And at 29, you know what? The time is now. So hopefully someone picks him up. Next up, Yusub Khalidav Zardav, 28-5-9, 145 out of Russia, 12-2-1, 4 knockouts, 1 submission. Tapology has him as 13-3. 38% finish rate. Surprise, another prospect from Russia. Fighting in the ACA, and he's on a roll. Dangerous fighter with power, pretty well rounded, and hopefully we see more of this guy. Next up, number 29, Kuban Janov, 25-145 out of Russia, 1-0, knockout, 100% finish rate. The reason he's on his list is amateur, an extensive amateur career. 2021 and 2022 Russian Cup winner, St. Petersburg Cup 2023 champ, and IMMAF bronze, world bronze in 2021. Shout out again for his amateur record. It looks like he's 19-2. Number 30, we're getting there, folks. Marcio Barbosa, 25-5-7, 145 out of Brazil, 15-2, 12 knockouts, 2 submissions, 93% finish rate. This guy's a warrior, live and die by the sword, big power, 12 KOs, and his 15 wins, only 1 fight gone the distance. Exciting, powerful, entertaining, he's just 25. 30 down. 31, Kaluni Lopez, 28-5-7, 145 out of Brazil, 10-1, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 80% finish rate, jungle strike champion. Another monster from Brazil. Lopez is entertaining. He's in his prime, and he's a big-time finisher. He's beat some good opponents, including 7-0 Mateus Porian. Let's hope we get to see more of this guy soon. 32, Jose Zé Delano, 27-5-8, 145 out of Brazil, 14-3, 3 knockouts, 5 submissions, 57% finish rate. Former Judo LFA Judo Brazil champ, now fighting in the LFA, which means he's very close to the UFC. Definitely one to watch for. He's experienced now, so with another win or two, I wouldn't be surprised seeing this guy get a shot in the Contender Series. Next up, another great fighter from England. Surprised this guy hasn't been picked up as well. Jordan Vucenic, 28-5-9, 145 at England, 12-2, 2 knockouts, 5 submissions, 58% finish rate. Former Cage Warriors champ. Great fighter. He had a war over previously mentioned prospect Paul Hughes. Jordan is well-rounded, entertaining fighter that can stop you or go the distance. He's a fan favorite, comfortable on his feet, and has, excellent jiu-jitsu. I think this guy is close to signing with the UFC or the PFL, in my opinion. Next up, Ernie Juarez, 25-5-9, 145, 155 in the USA, 8-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 50% finish rate. Undefeated prospect from the US of A. Good looking up-and-comer. Has some nice wins over decent prospects and looks to be decently well-rounded. Definitely want to give Ernie a shout-out. Don't know a whole lot about him, but hopefully we'll see more of this guy soon. Horias Musaya, 24-5-8, 145 out of Congo, 6-0 with 6 knockouts, 100% finish rate. Young and explosive fighter with KO power. Still lots of room for improvement in his all-around game, but exciting to watch. Just 24 years old, 100% finish rate. Hopefully we see more of this guy. Next up, Kibilo Azizov, 23-5-10, 145 out of Russia, 10-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission, 4 submissions, 70% finish rate, 5-10, 145. I mean, what can I say? Another beast from Russia. High finish rate, got good wrestling, good ground and pound, submission threat. Overall, just another decent prospect. who deserves a shout-out. 37, Kazan Daliov, 25, 5'7", 145 out of Russia, 14-2, 4 knockouts, 5 submissions, 64% finish rate. Kazan has beat some great opposition, well-rounded fighter in the ACA promotion, so he gets no easy fights. Long list of tremendous fighters at ACA, just continues to grow. Great prospect. Next up, Ryan Hoover, 25, 5'9", 145 at the USA, 6-0, 1 knockout, 3 submissions, 67% finish rate. Great seeing another prospect from the States. Ryan has looked good as both a pro and an amateur. Still room for overall growth, of course, but he's a proven winner and shows a decent all-around game. At 25, he's got time and looking forward to seeing more. So good luck, Ryan. Next up, Fabio Henrique Nascimento, 28, 5'9", 145 at Brazil, 15-1, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, 67% finish rate. Beast after beast. Great seeing another high-level prospect from Brazil, well-rounded at 15-1. You know what? Just a great fighter with a mix of KOs and sub. Great record. At 28, it's a perfect time for this guy to get picked up. Number 40, moving right along. A little drink of coffee here. Roman Podrugan, 27, 5'9", 145 out of Russia. 14-2, 5 knockouts, 5 submissions, 67% finish rate. Great prospect with solid wrestling, power, submission threats. Good gas tank. Seems like an endless list of Russian prospects, but definitely want to give him a shout out. Next up, another beast from Kyrgyzstan, Marcel Rozirak. 26, 5'7", 145/155, 12-0. 3 knockouts, 8 submissions, 92% finish rate. Great record with a great finish rate. Also, numerous bare knuckle and boxing matches that are on his record. Hasn't fought the highest competition as of yet, but you know, at 12-0, he's a definite prospect. Another win or two, you would think this guy will get a shot. We'll see him maybe getting a shot in the Contender Series. Next up, Jang Wang, 5'9", 145 out of China. Don't have an age in this guy, so if anyone knows, let me know. 20-5, 8 knockouts, 3 submissions, 55% finish rate. Very experienced and high-level prospect, athletic, can finish fights, KO and sub decisions. Lots of experience. He got the 5 losses, but a great record, so I wanted to give him a shout out. 43, Kasper Formila, 28, 5'8", 145 out of Poland, 18-4, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, 56% finish rate. Well-rounded veteran prospect. Kasper is a good fighter that can finish fights in many different ways. Has head kick KOs, punch KOs, multiple submissions and decision. He's beat some very good opposition, is now fighting in KSW. Next up, in Argentina, Lucas Milicic, 24, 6 feet, 145. He's a big featherweight. 8-1, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 88% finish rate. Great to see another prospect from Argentina. Lucas finishes fight. He's beat other prospects with great records like 8-1 Marcos Navios and 15-1 Jose Trinidad. Check him out. Number 45, Zabit Shupanov, 30 years old, 5'8", 135, 145 out of Kazakhstan, 16-3, 0-1, 7 knockouts, 3 submissions, 63% finish rate. A veteran prospect at 30. We usually don't include fighters of this age, but wanted to give him a shout out. 20-fight pro, who's well-rounded and has some very nice wins. The time is now. 46, Kayan Olfi, 31 again, over that threshold, 5'6", 145, 155 at a Turkey, 11-2, 1 knockout, 5 submissions, 55% finish rate. Again, good record on an 8-fight win streak and has beat some very good opposition. He's improved over the years, and you know what? He'd be a good fit, and the time is right now. Perhaps a shot in the Contender Series. Number 47, Nikolai Saviev, 25, 5'11", 145, 155 in a Kazakhstan, 8-1, 3 knockouts, 1 submission, 50% finish rate. Another solid, entertaining, well-rounded prospect that's beat some good opposition, but he suffered a gruesome arm break in his last fight. I wanted to give him a shout out because he may be in a commission for a long time, but you know what? He's a good fighter and has a great record. Take one little coffee break here, folks. We're at number 40. We just finished number 47. So now we're going to really breeze through these last 80, 90 fighters in the essence of time. But again, some great fighters we're going to talk about. William Sosa, 27, 5'10", 135, 145 out of Brazil, 13-2 and 9 knockouts, 2 submissions, 85% finish rate. Jungle Fight featherweight champ and former Guerra fight featherweight champ. Great fighter. Check him out. Next up, Claver Fernandez, 29-5-7, 145 out of Brazil. 9-1-5 sub, 56% finish rate. Shooter Brazil, 135-pound champ. Next up, Daguerre Imanov, 32-5-8, 145 out of France. 15-3-0-1, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, 40% finish rate. Former Centurion featherweight champ. Brother of UFC vet Nasruddin. Close to UFC signing. He's a big 145er. Look forward to seeing more. Shermalak Kalidov, 25-5-9, 145 in Kazakhstan. 7-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, 71% finish rate. Former Georgian FC Octagon featherweight champ. Great fighter. Next up, Icaro Brito, 25-5-10, 145 out of Brazil. 7 wins, 1 loss, 5 knockouts, 71% finish rate. Currently in the AFL, so very close to a contender series or UFC signing. He isn't that far away. Great fighter. Next up, Edward Kexel, 26-5-9, 145/155 out of Germany. 10-1, 2 knockouts, 1 submission, 30% finish rate. And don't let that low finish rate fool you. 2018 Junior World Lightweight Gold and 2018 World Featherweight Gold in the IMMAF. Next up, Karantello Safiev, 29-5-11, 145/155. Russia, Tajikistan, and Germany. I'm not sure which country is first, but he's representing 3. 10-1, 1 knockout, 4 submissions, 50% finish rate. German Pioneer Champion. Another huge featherweight. Next up, Abasi Gaziev, 31-5-8, 145. Kyrgyzstan, again, 18-1 8 knockouts, 1 submission, 50% finish rate. WEF featherweight champ, MMA series Russian featherweight champ, and WEF selection tournament winner, plus more. He's got a big following too, 300,000 people on Instagram. So I believe he's coming off that first loss, but definitely want to include him. Next up, Solomon Simon out of Ireland, 28-5 down 145, 4-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 100% finish rate. Exciting fighter to watch now, fighting the Cage Warriors, and has close to 20 amateur fights. So I wanted to give him a shout out. I enjoyed watching his fights. Jean-Jacques Lubana, 25-5 down 145, 9-0, 4 knockouts, 1 submission, 56% finish rate. Impact Championship tournament winner. 3 split decision wins. So this guy's, eked out so far and has been able to find ways to win, so deserves a shout out. Next up, Sharif Kubayev, 29-5 down 145, 10-1, 9 knockouts, 1 submission, 100% finish rate in Uzbekistan. And you know what? We're starting to see more fighters out of Uzbekistan as well. Former Open Fighting Championship featherweight champ. Next up, cruising right along, folks. Armen Gasidov, 26-5-7, 145. 10-1, 4 knockouts, 40% finish rate. Former Alish Pride FC featherweight champ and fighting at Azerbaijan. Next up, Chikania Kanabak, 25-5-10, 135, 145. Again at Kyrgyzstan, 9-1, 5 knockouts, 1 submission, 67% finish rate. World Erstanimash Federation featherweight champ. Next up at Brazil, Leonardo Hudson, 22 years old, 5'8", 135/145. And then Brazil again, 10-1, 6 knockouts, 3 submissions, 90% finish rate. Next up, Pedro Doreto, 25-5-10, 145 out of Brazil, 5-0, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions, 80% finish rate. Got a grappling background. That's why he's included. He's had multiple tournament victories. Next up, Nazarbek Akiev, 22-5-9, 145 out of Kyrgyzstan, 5-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, 100% finish rate. Definitely wanted to give him a shout out. Next up, going to Japan, Kei Marzano, 145, 6-0, 80% finish rate, 1 knockout, 3 submissions. Fights at a Deep Impact. And again, don't know his age, so if you know the age, please send it to me. Next up, Matthias Lima, 25, 6 feet, 145 out of Brazil. 2 submissions, 40% finish rate. Seen this guy fight, good looking prospect. Next up, Gamlet Azadov, 24, 5'8", 135 out of Kazakhstan. 5-0, 3 knockouts, 60% finish rate. Another good looking prospect. Next up, out of Greece, Alexandros Matoris, 24, 5'8", 145. 7-0, 2 knockouts, 29% finish rate. Another fighter out of Morocco. I also heard rumors he's going to get signed to the PFL. Whether it's true or not, I have to touch base, see if I can find out. Manarine Belaquat, 5'10", 145, with 5-0, 3 knockouts, 60% finish rate. Next up, Henck Barbosa, 26-5-6, 145 at Brazil, 9-1, 4 knockouts, 1 submission, 56% finish rate. Another great prospect I want to give a shout out to is our Ace Tides, Vinicius, just 24 years old, 5'8", 145 out of Brazil, 8-1-1, 1 knockout, 7 submissions with 100% finish rate, so a big time threat on the ground. Again, seeing this guy grapple, and there's something there, so definitely got to check out. Next up, Renan Oliveira, 30 years old, 5'8", 145 out of Brazil, 9-1, 1 knockout, 2 submission, 33% finish rate. Definite shout out there. Pedro Dantos, 145, 155 out of Brazil, 5-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions, 100% finish rate. And sticking with Brazil, Daniel Araújo, 23, 5'9", 145, 4 knockouts, 4-0 with 4 knockouts, 100% finish rates, and also a professional boxer with a record of 7-1. Next up, Colby Covington, 24 years old, 5'9", 135/145 out of Brazil, 4-0 as a professional with 1 submission victory. Also have him as 8-1 as an amateur, including the 2020 Oceania MMA Featherweight champion. So that alone, Colby deserves a shout out. Looking forward to seeing more of this guy. Next up, Wesley Ramos, 26-5-10, 145 out of Brazil with a 6-0 record. 4 submissions, 67% finish weight. Want to give Wesley a quick shout out. Next up, we're getting there, folks. Pter St, 5'10", 145, 155 in the Czech Republic. 5-0, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions, 100% finish rate. Kid looks pretty slick. I want to give him a shout out. He was the Gamma Amateur European 2022 champion. So, he's got some amateur background as well. Next up, Akhmed Saliev, 24, 5'9", 145 out of Russia. 4 wins, no losses, 2 knockouts, 1 submission, 75% finish rate, wrestling background. Again, some of these folks, what I'm mentioning with the 5-6 wins, there's a reason I'm doing it. You can find many fighters with that record, but there's a reason why some of these guys are getting shout-outs, because I've seen them before, and maybe there's potential there. Next up in South Korea, Ju Sang Yip, 5'9", 145 out of South Korea, 6-0, 2 knockouts, 1 submission, 50% finish rate, the 145-pound AFC champ. I also seen this guy fighting entertaining. Now this next fight, don't let the record fool you. Matheus Camilo, 23, 5'9", 145 out of Brazil, 7-2, 4 knockouts, 2 submissions, 80% finish rate, but he's got power and he's beat some legitimate opponents, and I've seen this guy fight, so I wanted to make sure he got a shout out. You know what? With a win or two, I'd see that guy in the contender series for sure. Next up, Marcos Aurelio. Just 19 years old, 5'8", 135, 145 out of Brazil, 5-0, 2 knockouts, 2 subs, 80% finish rate, also 4-0 as an amateur. So with a combined record of 9-0, just 19, deserved a shout out. Next up, Begdos Ozani, 27-5-8, 145, 16-4, 3 knockouts, 9 submissions, 75% finish rate. Wanted to give him a shout out, great record. Next up, Muzaya Kazadiev, 29, 5'9", 135 in Russia, 8-0, 1 no contest, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, 88% finish rate. Grab a quick drink of coffee here. Next up, Ali Yazbek, 28, 5'9", 135 out of Sweden, 5-0, 1 knockout, 3 submissions, 80% finish rate. Kind of cool to see fighters out of Sweden. We haven't seen a ton. Thinking back to the Alexander Gustafsson days, I thought it would have exploded a little more, but it's great to see some folks coming out of there. Next up, Shamil Megamed, 26, 5'9", 145 in Russia, 9-1, 5 knockouts, 4 submissions, 100% finish rate. Another interesting prospect from Russia to check out. Next up, here's a guy that definitely worth checking out. Anthony Deleme, 28, 5'7", 145 out of USA, 6-0 with 3 knockouts, 50% finish rate. Good looking prospect. You know what? I could see Anthony for sure. Another win or two getting a call. Definitely see this guy maybe on a contender series. Next up, Meego Medkazani, 27, 5'7", 135, 145 of Azerbaijan. 9-1, 4 knockouts, 44% finish rate. So quick shout out to him. Next up, another beast I want to talk about, Megamed Yia, 27 years old, 5'8", 145, 7-0, 5 knockouts, 1 submission, 86% finish rate, fighting out of Belgium. Good looking prospect. You know what? It'd be great to see some Belgian fighters in UFC or PFL, and I think he's got a shot. Could definitely see him getting picked up by the PFL or the Contender Series. Next up, Curtis Campbell, 21-5-9, 145, 55 Boom. 7-0, 5 knockouts, 1 submission, 86% finish rate, 7-1 as an amateur. So, just 21 years of age with a combined record of 14-1 deserves a shout out. Next up, Megamed Osmali, 19, just 19, man. We get a lot of young prospects. 135, 145, 7-0, 1 knockout, 6 submissions, 100% finish rate. Hey, if you're 19, you got a 7-0 record with a 100% finish rate, you're getting a shout out in one of my videos. Faram Siash, 5'9", 145 at Indonesia. Great seeing a fighter in Indonesia. 7-0, 1 knockout, 2 submissions, 44% finish rate. The One Pride MMA, 145-pound champ. Next up, Milos Krok, 20 years old, 5'11", 145 out of Poland. Just 3-0 as a pro. 1 knockout, 1 submission, 67% finish rate, but 13-3 as an amateur. Pro win over 5-0 Demetrius Lashdini. So you know what, with that amount of experience and that success at 20, deserves a shout out. Next up, another great prospect I want to talk about from Italy. Tiziano Frometti, 24, 5'9", 145 at Italy, 8-1, 6 knockouts, 2 submissions, 100% finish rate. Great seeing some fighters out of that part of the world. Great record, and with that finish rate, you know what, Tiziano deserves a shout out. Next up, Ahmed Sheriev, 28, 5'10", 145, 155 out of Russia, 16-1-1, 7 knockouts, 4 submissions, 69% finish rate. He's been inactive for 2 years, but this guy's an under-the-radar prospect. Great fighter, great record. Hopefully we see him back in action. 47, Emanuela Geladiev, 24, 5'9", out of Russia, 9-0, 2 knockouts, 7 submissions, 100% finish rate. Hasn't fought high competition yet, but a great record and a great start to his career. Next up, Elibek Ashliaf out of Azerbaijan again, 24, 5'6", 145, 8-0, 1 knockout, 6 submission, 88% finish rate. IMMAF Gold 2018 World Junior champ, junior featherweight champ. So definitely a guy with a background, amateur background, to go along with his great professional career. Next up, quick shout out to Michael as well. 23, 5'8", 145, fighting out of the United States of America. 9-1, great record with 5 knockouts and a 56% finish rate. This is another guy I could see getting picked up for sure by one of the bigger promotions. Next up, Wallace Dos Santos out of Brazil. 5'7", 145, 8-1, 3 knockouts, 4 submissions, 88% finish rate. Beat some good prospects in his last couple of fights, so I wanted to give him a shout out. Next up, Megamed Yia out of Russia, 5'8", 145, 6-0, 1 knockout, 1 submission, 33% finish rate. We're going to cruise now, folks, with these last number of people. Eric Pratov, 20 years old, 5'7", 135, 145 out of Russia, 6-0, 4 submissions, 67% finish rate. Next up, another great fighter, Machilev Davilev, is 25 years old, 145 in Tajikistan, 5-0, 1 knockout, 3 submissions, 80% finish rate. Karen Azumianin, 23, 5'6", 145, 155 out of Romania. Great seeing fighters out of Romania. This guy got a great record. 10-0, 3 knockouts, 7 submissions, 100% finish rate. Definitely one to check out. Next up, Ukan Ibragimov out of Russia. This guy's a beast. Very big beast. Fights in Cage Warriors, big KO power, exciting fighter to watch. Stand-up fighter. 7-1 with 7 knockouts, 100% finish rate. I would suggest checking this guy out. Again, with all the recent success of, and I guess longevity success of, good kickboxers coming to MMA, this is a guy to check out. Next up, Andreas Ferreira, 26, 5'10", 145 out of Mexico, 8-1, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 100% finish rate. Hasn't fought, high-level competition, but definitely one to watch out for. Next up, another great-looking prospect out of Kazakhstan, Nurbek Kajimanov, 9-2, 100%, 1 AO, 6 submissions for 1 TKO, 6 submissions, 78% in finish rate. But he's got a win over the previously mentioned 18-1 Muhammad Emanov. I want to make sure he got a shout out for that big victory. And you know what? Does get a good record in his own right. Next on the list, Keizei Takara. He's 30 years old, 5'5", 145 out of Japan. 5-0, 1 draw, 3 knockouts, 60% finish rate. Wanted to give him a shout out. Next up, great fighter out of Canada. Being from Canada myself, it's good to see some prospects coming this way. Frederic Dupois, 5'9", 145. 7-1 with seven submissions, 100% finish rate. All first round stoppages. And I think he was supposed to fight he was supposed to fight a few days ago against UFC vet Jesse Arnett, but I think the fight fell through. He's also 6-1 as an amateur. So this guy is, very high level in the ground. And when you have really one really good weapon, obviously you got to improve the rest of your game. But with that really strong weapon, he definitely can open the eyes up and win fights against anybody if he gets in the right position. So shout out to Frederic. Hopefully we see more of this guy. Great fighter out of Canada. Next up, Brendan Batchett, just 19 years old, 145 out of France. And France MMA is starting to pick up. So great time to be a young prospect in that country. 7-1, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, 86% finish rate, and 6-0 as an amateur. So if you combine his record, 14-1, 19 years old, man, and the way France is starting to boom right now, you see this guy maybe with the PFL soon. Wilker Naseo out of Angola. Again, great seeing fighters out of Angola. So many countries today we're talking about. 28, 145, 6-0, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions for an 83% finish rate. Next up, going back to Canada. This guy's also a beast. Medi Zidan, 5'10", 145. Not sure about the height. I got him at 31, but definitely with his background, I wanted to give him a shout out. 4-0. I think he's got 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 75% finish rate, but he's got great wrestling. And I believe he's got a World Cup gold in wrestling. And multiple, I don't know all the details of his wrestling background, but I know he's won multiple championships across the world. So definitely, if you're watching this Medi, or if anyone knows him and you know kind of that background, please send my way. But a shout out for sure. And when you got that strong of wrestling, you can go places. So check him out. Next up, Adam Kroll, 20 years old, 145 at the Czech Republic, 4-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission. The reason I included him there, he's got, of course, the good start to his career, but he's got an extensive amateur career. I think he's got over 20 fights. Also mixed in kickboxing and Muay Thai, so definitely one to watch out for. Next up, out of India, Sanjit Budwar, 30 years old, 5'7", 145. Also a champion in his own promotion. Great record. 11-2, 7 knockouts, 1 submission, 73% finish rate. I seen him fighting. I was thinking he was a wrestler. He looked a little flat-footed, but he's got big power. And I see him throw that missile and knock some guys out. So definitely one to watch out for. It'd be good to see a fighter from India make his way over to the States, or fight UFC, PFL, you name it, or Bellator. Next up, Robert Battle, 5'6", 135/145 out of Bolivia. 7-0, 5 knockouts, 2 submissions, 100% finish rate. Again, I don't remember off the top of my head many names I can name off from Bolivia, but great to see a fighter coming out of there. Next up, we're really going to cruise these last ones. We're going to talk about some fighters that are fighting in the ACA. We're going to buzz through, so we got about 10 or 12 fighters left. Bukayev Erkinov, 26, 5'9", 145 out of Russia, 18-2-1 knockout, 12 submission, 73% finish rate. AMC Fight Nights Global champ and the DSF Afghanistan 4-fight 1-night champion. Again, not sure about the level of competition, but great record. Want to include him in. He has won multiple championships, so definitely want to give him a shout out. Next up, David Jagami, 24, 5'8", 135, 145 out of Russia, 6-0, 2 knockouts, 33% finish rate. What caught my eye with David was his wrestling. Smothering wrestling, so I wanted to give him a shout out, even though it doesn't have the high percent finish rate. I don't know about his amateur background. He's only had the 6 fights, but that wrestling definitely stood out. Next up, another great prospect out of Spain, Alvaro Uso, 31, 5'7", 135/145, again in Spain, 5-0, 1 knockout, 1 submission, 40% finish rate, IMMAF 2019 Euro Bantamweight Silver, and 17-2 as an amateur, so I want to give him a shout out, even though he's 31. great amateur career and, undefeated as a pro so far. Next up, Ortega Gazliev, 26, 5'8", 135, 145 out of Russia. 11-3, 10 knockouts, 100% finish rate. Dangerous prospect out of Russia. Definitely wanted to give him a shout out. Next up, Ismail Kaladiev, 22, 5'8", also out of Russia. 145, 9-1, 6 knockouts, 1 submission, 78% finish rate. We're talking basically these last handful of fighters are all in an ACA. And just to give you an idea of some of the prospects that they have in their lower weight classes, unbelievable. Dennis Lemchinov, 23, 5'6", 135/145 out of Ukraine, 5-0, 3 knockouts, 1 submission, 80% finish rate. Urzo Gudiev, 23, 5'9", 145 out of Russia, 4-0, 4 knockouts, 100% finish rate. Kandemir Shibiev, 23, 5'11", 145 out of Russia, 4-0, 1 knockout, 2 submissions, 75% finish rate. Gaviv Sadibekov, 24, 5'10", out of Tajikistan, 9-1, 2 knockouts, 3 submissions, 55% finish rate. Idris Bergdakov, 21, 5'10", 145 out of Russia, 3-0, 3 knockouts, 100% finish rate. Again, just highlighting some of these young folks that the ACA has. Unbelievable. And Elbrus Tidiev, 24, 5'7", 145 out of Russia, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, 4-0 with 3 knockouts, 1 submission, 100% finish rate. And that's it, folks. 123 fighters. I know we move fast, and that's why I want to get into the smaller videos where we can take our time and talk about 5 or 6 prospects and go into detail. But I was committed to finish this series. So having said that, first off, thanks for watching, everyone. We have the lightweight division left. We have the women's division, women's one video. I'm going to combine all the divisions. So that's 2 videos left for the series that I'm committed to. It's going to take a long time. Hopefully in the next 2 to 3 months they'll be out. And then we're going to get back to doing maybe 10, 12 prospect videos a year. Smaller versions, 20-minute videos. And then also there's some other content I want to get into. But you know what? Here's the key, folks. If you guys, again, could hit the like button, subscribe, share, comment, anything, just to let me know you want me to continue making these videos. Again, it gives good exposure to the channel, but also the fighters. Many fighters, I've been contacted by different promoters asking about fighters, and a lot of them get picked up. So, again, thanks for watching, folks. Really looking forward to getting the next 2 videos out, and I hope you all like this one. Thank you and take care.